Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're setting sail to a breathtaking corner of the Caribbean, a nation of emerald peaks and turquoise waters, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. While you might know it for its stunning beaches and celebrity hideaways like Mustique, this island country has a history as dramatic and fiery as its famous volcano, La Soufrière. So grab your sunglasses and let's dive into the incredible story of SVG. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is nestled in the Lesser Antilles, a beautiful chain of islands separating the Caribbean Sea from the Atlantic Ocean. It's more than just a single island, it's a multi-island nation. The main island, St. Vincent, is where you'll find the bustling capital Kingstown, but stretching south is a sprinkle of 32 smaller islands and cays known as the Grenadines. Think of Bequia, Mustique, Canouan and Union Island, each a little slice of paradise with its own unique charm. Long before European ships ever appeared on the horizon, these islands were home to indigenous peoples. The first known inhabitants were the Siboney, who were later followed by the Arawaks. Around the 14th century, the more formidable Caribs, also known as the Kalinago, arrived from South America. They were skilled navigators and fierce warriors who established a strong presence. They called the main island Harauna, which beautifully translates to Land of the Blessed. This name reflected their deep spiritual connection to the land. The Kalinago fiercely defended their home, and their resistance would become a defining feature of the island's early colonial history. Unlike many other Caribbean islands that were quickly colonized, Harauna remained a bastion of indigenous control for centuries, earning it a reputation as a place to be respected. It's believed Christopher Columbus sighted the main island on January 22, 1498, the feast day of St. Vincent of Saragossa, and named it accordingly. However, for the next 2 centuries, the Spanish made little attempt to settle the island. The rugged terrain and, more importantly, the staunch resistance of the Kalinago people made colonization a daunting prospect. This period allowed a unique society to develop. Starting in the 17th century, something remarkable happened. Enslaved Africans who had escaped from neighboring plantations on Barbados and St. Lucia, or survived shipwrecks, found refuge on St. Vincent. They intermarried with the local Kalinago population, and over time, this fusion of cultures created a new, distinct group known as the Garifuna, or the Black Caribs. They adopted Kalinago language and customs while retaining deep roots in their African heritage. This new community was strong, independent, and just as determined to protect their freedom as the Kalinago. They established their own villages, developed a unique culture, and became the dominant power on the island. This resistance, however, put them on a collision course with 2 of Europe's greatest powers, France and Britain. Both empires had their eyes on the fertile lands of St. Vincent, perfect for growing lucrative crops like sugar. Throughout the 18th century, the island became a geopolitical chessboard. The French were the first to establish a permanent settlement in 1719, not through conquest, but by seeking peaceful coexistence with the Garifuna. They cultivated coffee, tobacco and cotton, and a fragile harmony was maintained. But the British had other plans. The Treaty of Paris in 1763 handed St. Vincent over to Great Britain, and everything changed. The British didn't want to coexist. They wanted to control. They began establishing large sugar plantations, which required seizing the most fertile lands, the very lands that belonged to the Garifuna. Tensions escalated rapidly, leading to the First Carib War in 1769. For years, the Garifuna, led by the brilliant military strategist Chief Joseph Chatoyer, fought a guerrilla war against the much better equipped British forces. They knew the island's mountains and forests intimately, using them to their advantage. The war ended in 1773 with a treaty that was a testament to their strength. The Garifuna were forced to cede some land, but were officially granted title to a large protected territory in the north of the island. It was a partial victory, a recognition of their power. But peace was short-lived. When France sided with the American colonies in their war for independence, they saw an opportunity to reclaim St. Vincent. In 1779, they retook the island with the help of their Garifuna allies. French rule returned, but only for a few years. The 1783 Treaty of Paris once again restored St. Vincent to British control, setting the stage for a final, tragic conflict. The British returned with even greater determination to establish a plantation economy based on enslaved African labor. They continuously encroached on the Garifuna territory, breaking the terms of the 1773 treaty. The Garifuna, again led by the now legendary paramount chief Joseph Chatoye, felt they had no choice but to fight for their survival. In 1795, fueled by revolutionary ideals from France, they launched the Second Carib War, also known as the Brigands' War. This was an all-out rebellion. Chatoye and his warriors fought with incredible courage and skill, pushing the British back to the brink of defeat. But on March 14, 1795, a tragic event turned the tide. During a skirmish, Chief Chatoye was killed. The loss of their charismatic leader was a devastating blow to the Garifuna morale. Without Chatoye, their unified resistance began to crumble. The British brought in thousands of reinforcements and, after another year of brutal fighting, finally subdued the rebellion in 1796. The British retaliation was merciless. They rounded up over 5,000 Garifuna, burning their villages and destroying their crops. They were imprisoned in terrible conditions on the nearby island of Baliceaux, where more than half died from disease and starvation. The survivors were then forcibly exiled, deported on ships to the island of Roatan, off the coast of modern-day Honduras. From there, the Garifuna people scattered, establishing communities in Belize, Guatemala, and Nicaragua, where their vibrant culture continues to thrive today. Here on St. Vincent, the British declared Joseph Chatoye the first national hero, a testament to the man who fought so fiercely for his people's freedom. With the Garifuna resistance crushed and their people exiled, the British finally had complete control. The 19th century saw St. Vincent transformed into a classic British sugar colony. The landscape was dominated by vast plantations worked by thousands of enslaved Africans living under brutal conditions. The economy was entirely dependent on sugar, and a small, wealthy white planter class held all the political and economic power. When the British Empire abolished slavery in 1834, the planters faced a labor crisis. Like in other Caribbean colonies, they turned to indentured servitude, bringing in thousands of laborers, primarily from Portugal and India, to work the fields. These new arrivals added yet another layer to the island's rich cultural tapestry. The late 19th and early 20th centuries were difficult. The sugar industry collapsed due to competition from European beet sugar, plunging the island's economy into a long depression. Poverty was widespread, and social unrest began to simmer. A series of natural disasters, including a devastating hurricane in 1898 and a catastrophic eruption of the La Soufrière volcano in 1902 that killed nearly 2,000 people, compounded the misery. However, these hardships also planted the seeds of change. A new political consciousness began to emerge among the non-white majority. People started demanding better working conditions, fair wages, and a voice in their own government. The Great Depression of the 1930s brought things to a head, with riots and strikes breaking out across the British West Indies, including St. Vincent. These uprisings forced the British to concede political reforms. In 1951, universal adult suffrage was granted, giving every adult the right to vote for the first time. This was a monumental step on the path to self-governance. Political parties were formed, and figures like Ebenezer Joshua and Milton Cato rose to prominence, championing the cause of the working class and leading the push for independence. The journey continued through the post-war era. St. Vincent was part of the short-lived West Indies Federation from 1958 to 1962. After the federation dissolved, the island moved towards greater autonomy, becoming an associated state of the United Kingdom in 1969. This granted it full control over its internal affairs, while Britain remained responsible for defence and foreign policy. Finally, on October 27, 1979, St. Vincent and the Grenadines achieved full independence. Milton Cato became the country's first Prime Minister, and the nation proudly took its place on the world stage, joining the Commonwealth of Nations and the United Nations. Independence hasn't been without its challenges. The nation has worked to diversify its economy away from its reliance on a single crop, which for much of the 20th century was bananas. Today, tourism is a major driver of the economy, alongside agriculture and a growing offshore financial services sector. The political landscape has been stable, dominated by the New Democratic Party and the Unity Labour Party. And the ever-present La Soufrière volcano serves as a constant reminder of nature's power. It erupted again in 1979, the very year of independence, and most recently in April 2021. This latest series of explosive eruptions forced the evacuation of over 16,000 people and covered much of the island in a thick blanket of ash. The recovery was a massive undertaking, but the resilience of the Vincentian people, supported by their Caribbean neighbours and the international community, shone through. Today, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a vibrant, independent nation. Its culture is a rich blend of African, indigenous, French, British, Indian and Portuguese influences. You can hear it in the music, taste it in the food, and see it in the faces of its people. From the determined resistance of the Garifuna to the struggles of the plantation era and the triumphant journey to independence, the story of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is one of incredible resilience, survival, and pride. It truly is the land of the blessed. Thanks so much for joining us on this historical journey. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next adventure. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious,